All right, Steeler Nation, have I got a funny story for you? Or at least I think it's funny, anyways. But before I get into my story and the theme of today's show, which is titled, Do the Pittsburgh Steelers Have the Baltimore Ravens Number? And there's a reason why I'm talking about the Baltimore Ravens today, and the bird is the word scenario. But firstly, I just want to give a shout out to one of my mates, bloke who I met today. Now, firstly, I want to give a shout out to my mate Bob, who sent me an email the other day, and he shares most of my stuff. So thanks, Bob, for the email and reaching out as he runs Pittsburgh Steelers News. So if you guys have Facebook, he has over 137,000 members, which is crazy. Bob, along with a few other fellas and ladies who run that page, and he's an admin, and he shares my stuff here on Steel Nation Australia. And he also shares my stuff along with Owen's stuff on Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate. Now, another quick shout out to another bloke I met today, an Australian dude who used to play American football. And I had a good conversation. I'm not going to say his name because he could be watching. But yeah, shout out to you, man. It was a great conversation about American football. We started talking about the ins and outs of, how he played American football in Australia with the Central Coast Sharks, and how he went to Sydney, and how he had a chance to actually go to college, but he ended up hurting his leg. So shout out to you, mate. I hope you enjoyed your Uber Eats. It was good meeting you and talking to you. Now, but in today's show, and speaking of Uber Eats, I wanted to bring up this quick little story that happened to me today. And it's just so dumb. It's one of the silliest mistakes that I've ever made, probably this year. Now, I was doing Uber Eats. I did about 3 or 4, 5 deliveries yesterday. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go get some taco, get a bit of food, and treat myself, get a bit of lunch, right? Now we have this thing here in Australia. It's called a Porto. It's one of my favorites. It's like, I don't know, Spanish or like Mexican or Portuguese kind of like chicken. And you have, like, my favorite is getting the burger. You get 2 tenders, you get chips, and you get a sauce, right? You get it all in like a little snack pack, and it's unbelievable. Now, the reason why this will come around to being the Steelers, don't you worry. So the reason why I'm talking about the Ravens today is I have a new hatred for birds. Actually, I from today's events, I hate birds more than usual. Birds are already freaky. The only birds I really like are, the ones of the lady form, or the little birds are kind of cool. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, the birds are freaky, man. Like when they flap into you, all right, they fly into you. I got a really big fear that, like, one day if a bird ever flew into my car and it was in my car and flapping around, where would the bird go? It'd have to probably fly in your face while you're driving. But I got a new hatred for birds. And the reason being is I made a really stupid mistake today. And it's only something little, but it's kind of comical. As I went and got my burger and my chips, right? I went outside to find a table to sit down and eat my stuff. And then I realized when I opened up the box, I had my burger, my chips, my chicken tenders, all the stuff there, except I didn't have a sauce. And I had no sauce. And I thought, you know what? I paid for the sauce. I better go and get it. So the restaurant was probably about 100 meters away, maybe 50 meters away. And by all accounts, I'm still outside. So I went I went back to the restaurant and I was like, I'll get my sauce. Hey guys, how's it going? Any chance you can give me that sauce that I paid for? I didn't get it in my box. And when I went back to my table outside, I quickly realized, holy crab apples, I made a big mistake because there were birds in my box. There were like 6, 7 birds, minor birds, Indian minor birds in Australia, just scavenging my chips and scavenging my chicken tenders, like, chips going everywhere, tenders going everywhere. And I was like, no. I was like, you're joking. Like, I made a silly rookie mistake. Like, you shouldn't leave food outside. I was like, I'll be fine. I didn't even think about it. I'll run back to the restaurant. I'll get my sauce. I'll come back and enjoy my burger and my full meal. Little did I know, and I forgot about that I was outside, and these birds came from nowhere, swooped in, and took over my lunch, my dinner, and I was like, you're joking, right? But there's a bit of a moral to this story, right? Now, as I do, dislike birds more than ever, because I want to talk about today with Steelers versus Ravens. On the drive home, I did see, there was a bit of traffic, right? Then there was a bit of a I guess there was a car crash, or there was a truck had turned over. This truck went round the roundabout, right? And instantaneously, until I finished the story, I forgot about my issue, right? It wasn't a big issue. The bird issue was comical at the time. It was kind of funny. It was terrible. I felt like an idiot. People saw me running back to the table, squandering, going, "Oh my, who's they're taking my food." And then it's all okay. It's all okay because when you drive past this accident, everyone was safe. There was no one hurt from what I saw. But a big truck had turned over. This truck had turned over off the roundabout. And you think, well, that's life, right? That's how it works. But that's the first part of my story. I hope you guys had a bit of a laugh. Me running back to my table. If someone could follow me 24/7, I was just so gut hurt. That meme where people say, then he realized he fucked up. It was that moment he realized, or the moment I realized I stuffed up was when I was walking back and went, oh no, they're eating my chips. The birds are having at it. The birds are having at it. So today, guys, I want to talk about why I think the Pittsburgh Steelers may own the Ravens. So I wanted to go into a few things. Now, firstly, I wanted to go into the last 4 games that we have played, right? And I'm going to go through the box score a little bit and just go through that the Pittsburgh Steelers have beaten the Ravens 4 times in a row, and they've swept under the rug twice. So since what's the last victory? The 11th of the first. Sorry, that's backwards, isn't it? It's so backwards because you guys do it different. So it's 11th. Since November, the 1st of November. They have won 4 games in a row. The Steelers have their number. To me, they have their number. The Pittsburgh Steelers won 28-24, right? And then again in 2020, they won 19-14. Next year in 2021, they beat the Ravens 20-19, right? And in Big Ben's last game, they also beat the Ravens 16-13. So if we go into the first box score and just look at some of the stats, because also that is the one that Robert Spillane had the pick 6 back in the day, or from Lamar, had the pick 6 and took it away from Lamar and ran right into the end zone. So they seem to have their number overall, right? In 2020 it is, Big Ben went 21 for 32, 2 touchdowns. Whereas Lamar Jackson went 13 for 28, 2 TDs and 2 interceptions and 4 sacks. So he had the worst day of the two, right? I'm not going to go into all these, but I want us to give you a snapshot of how they're winning. Now in 2020, the last game in 2020, Steelers at home, they won 19-14. We go into this one. We'll check out some of the stats, right? I think Big Ben was still there. So that was the game we had to verse. There was no Lamar Jackson, but they versed Robert Griffin III and Trace McSorley, who only passed for 18 times. Where in that game, Big Ben passed for 36 times for 51 attempts. So we snuck away there, right? I want to go into Big Ben's last game and see how we won that one, right? But overall, we've won 4 times in a row. And from today's experience, my hatred for birds is quite up there, right? In Big Ben's last game, Big Ben threw 30 for 40 times, 244, 1 TD and 1 interception. And also, that was when last year that Lamar Jackson didn't play, right? He didn't play versus the Steelers then. But we still have his number. We still have Lamar's number, and I'll explain why in a minute, right? We versed Tyler Huntley. He went 16 for 31, 0 TDs, and 2 interceptions. So, as you would think, the big bad Baltimore Ravens, are they the best team in the AFC North? Sure, they've got a good roster, right? But the reality speaking right now is the Steelers have beaten them 4 times in a row. And you think about it, Lamar Jackson, I believe, he's either 1-4 or 1-5 against the Steelers, something of that nature. I think he may be 1-4, right? But I know he's quite low versing the Steelers in his career. If you go to their roster, right? If you go to their roster, the receivers, no real receivers stand out. Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay, yeah, okay. James Prochet II, never heard of you, right? there's no one to really throw to for the Baltimore Ravens right there. Yes, they went out and got Lindenbaum for their center. I do like their tight end, Mark Andrews. I think he's a really good tight end, and Nick Boyle as well. I think he's a good tight end too. So they start to use their tight ends more, that short passing game to get Lamar Jackson running around, and then converting those passes to Andrews and Boyle. Right? They use them in the running game. They use them in the passing game. I like those guys, right? Other than that, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers have Lamar figured out. And also looks like they have Tyler Huntley figured out too. So they have on their running attack, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, and the other guys, not really heard of them, right? So if those fellas aren't, if they can't run the football, if you can put a bit of pressure on Lamar Jackson, as you've seen with T.J. Watt, Highsmith, Cameron Haywood, Tyson Alualu, and hopefully this year with Miles Jack and Devin Bush, even Devin Bush to a certain degree has spied Jackson and figured him out when he starts to run. If they can keep Lamar Jackson in the pocket and not get out like Mahomes does around the corner and start to throw on designated run pass plays where he runs to the outside and zings it to someone, then I think they have a chance to beat them. But the funny thing is next year, right, or this year in 2022, with the Steelers versus Ravens, their first game is Sunday, December 11th. So we're talking about that's what's that? 17, 16, 15. Week 13. So it's going to take 13 weeks for these two teams to meet. And there's a big chance, depending on how the injuries go on either the Steelers or the Ravens, there's a big chance that at Heinz Field, the Steelers could beat the Baltimore Ravens again for their 5th victory in a row. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. But I have a new hatred, I guess, for birds from my story today about them eating my chicken and chips. And I was like, you're joking. You're absolutely joking. But yeah, let me know what you think, because I'm starting to think, right, I just think in this defense for the Steelers, I'm not even talking about our offense, and I'm not even talking about their defense. I purely want to focus this video on how they can contain Lamar. I think if they can contain Lamar and he doesn't run rampant, run crazy, and get outside the pocket, I think this defense can yet again slow the Baltimore Ravens down at home, and that will turn into a victory in Week 13 in our 5th victory over the Ravens. Now, I did love the stat that we had over the Bengals. I think it was 11 or 12 wins in a row. And you go back through the history as well, right? You go back through the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Ravens. And the Steelers lead the series 32-24. But pretty much every year, right? Every year from the 2000s, from the Ray Lewises and the Heinz Wards, it was always a split series. But now the Pittsburgh Steelers may have their number because they have won 4 in a row. And there's a big chance this year, heading into Week 13, depending if Lamar Jackson is even healthy, depending what team we see with the Ravens, same via the Steelers, but depending what two teams we see, if they play Lamar Jackson and he has not figured out the Steelers defense yet, I think we have the edge overall. All right, guys, I'm getting out of here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that little video and enjoyed the comical start that was the birds eating my dinner. Look, it's not related, but it is related, but it's not, but it is. So I was like, I got to tell someone because it's so stupid. It was just so dumb. All right. But now I have an absolute new hatred for birds, and I can't wait for this season to begin with the Bengals. But something tells me this year with the Steelers that they have Lamar Jackson's number, and they still need to go pay Lamar. And I know a lot of fans want the Steelers, want the Ravens to pay Lamar so we can always verse him. It was a bit like with my example, I wanted the Browns to pay Baker, but now the Browns haven't paid anyone. The Browns are in a big mess, a huge mess. Baker won't play. Watson probably will be suspended for however many games. And now if the Steelers can get Lamar Jackson a contract, that would be great for us, because I think Lamar Jackson is 1-4 or 1-5, something like that. I think they're 1-4. He's 1-4 against us. But what I'm saying is, if TJ Watt and those fellas can contain Lamar Jackson, he can't pass to anyone. All right. I'm not even worried about their own line. I'm not too worried about their running backs. I'm just saying, if he can't pass to anyone, he's got to do everything himself. And the more you run the football, the more you get gassed. The more that Lamar Jackson runs the football, the more he gets smacked in the face, right? Legally. Minka got signed today. He'll be coming down to the box to meet Lamar. And Devin Bush and Miles Shake and those fellas also will be trying to meet Lamar before he escapes the pocket. So there's a big chance that the Steelers can improve to 5 victories in a row. And I think they play the second last week, so New Year's Day. So if they're playing in Baltimore, if they're playing for the AFC North Division or something similar, then that game's going to mean a lot as well. So yeah, guys, I have a new hatred for birds. Thank you for checking out the channel. Thank you for checking out Steel Nation Australia. I won't make that mistake again. I only had a burger. I'm still quite hungry, but then it all comes back to reality when you drive past an accident or something like that. You think it doesn't matter. It's funny. It doesn't matter. Life is life, right? You keep pushing on. All right, guys. Thank you for checking out the channel. I'll see you later.